The conflict in Israel has been raging on for well over 3 months and the casualties are mounting. Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza claims that over 26,000 people have died in the conflict, although they do not mention how many of the casualties are of combatants. Here's more on that story.
Several people were killed in Gaza City when a residential building was hit in an airstrike. Emergency services rushed to the Sheti refugee camp to search for the bodies under the rubble. The dead were transported to Shifa Hospital, Gaza's largest medical facility. Following the strike, where a doctor confirmed at least 10 fatalities.
بالنسبة لمعسكر الشاطئ تم ضرب بيت مأهول في السكان في معسكر الشاطئ من دار شهادة بالقرب من العيادة العسكرية. تم نقل بعض الشهداء إلى مستشفى الشفاء. الوضع صعب في المكان، يعني في عندنا صعوبة في دخولنا لأنه باعتبار عن شوارع صغيرة ضيقة في معسكر الشاطئ.
Since the start of Israel-Hamas war, over 26,000 Palestinians have been killed by a blistering Israeli ground and air offensive. Israel launched the offensive in response to October 7 Hamas attack on southern Israel, in which militants killed 1,200 Palestinians and took some 250 hostages, some released during a week's ceasefire in November. Agency report, Republic TV.
Viewers, top updates we're tracking right now. Venezuelan opposition leader has now gone ahead and said that the court ruling blocking her presidential candidacy represents judicial criminality as she vowed to stay in the race. Brazil's federal police searched the homes and office of Carlos Bolsonaro, the son of former President Jair Bolsonaro. The search comes as a part of a broader investigation into the nation's intelligence agency and alleged spying on political components during Bolsonaro's term, which ended in December 2022. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson dismissed the U.S. accusations that Tehran was behind the overnight drone strike that killed 3 American troops and injured dozens more in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border. Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni opened a summit of African leaders on Monday aimed at unveiling Italy's big development plan for Africa, which the government hopes will stem migration flows and forge a new relationship between Europe and the continent. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida was forced to start this year's parliamentary session with an apology over one of the country's biggest corruption scandals in decades. Yannick Sinner showed off his new trophy on Monday, a day after winning the Australian Open men's singles title. A 22-year-old Italian says that he is proud to be part of a new generation of tennis stars and that his victory can be a game changer for the sport as it moves into a new era. Yannick Sinner climbed out a deep hole to win its first Grand Slam title, consigning Medvedev to a 5th loss in his 6 major finals. Medvedev asserted that it did not hurt as much because Sinner played better than him. South Korea coach Jurgen Klinsmann said that he does not fear anyone when asked about his clash against Roberto Mancini, coached Saudi Arabia in the round of the 16 clash in the Asian Cup. Debutant Tom Hartley delivered one of the greatest overseas wins in England's history, claiming a magnificent 7-2 down in India in the first test at Hyderabad and complete a classic comeback. Indian team coach Rahul Dravid expressed disappointment after England beat India in the final first test at Hyderabad. England looked on course for a thumping defeat after conceding a 190-run first innings deficit but refused to back down with bat or ball and condemned India to just a 4th home defeat in over a decade. The presidential election is currently underway in Finland and Alexander Stubb of a National Coalition Party has emerged as a winner of the first round. Amid demand for strong leadership against foreign policies grows, the second round off is slated to take place on Feb 11. Stay tuned. Here's the entire report.
Alexander Stubb of Finland's centre-right National Coalition Party has emerged the winner of the first round of the country's presidential election. His party will go head-to-head with Pekka Haavisto of the Liberal Green Party in a runoff in 2 weeks' time.
On one hand, you stay faithful and true to your values, like human rights, fundamental rights, rule of law, democracy, freedom. At the same time, you realize that the rest of the world doesn't think like you do. And in order for us to solve the biggest global problems that we have today, including climate change or demography or pandemics, we need international cooperation. So I'm trying to look at things from both sides of the coin, both the idealistic side and the realistic side.
Recent polls suggest that former Prime Minister Alexander Stubb and former Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto are the leading contenders.
Well, certainly the priorities is to make us an active member of NATO. We are a new member now. Secondly, of course, that Sweden will come as a member of NATO as soon as possible. The last ratifications of Turkey and Hungary are now ongoing. And of course, this means that all the Nordic countries are then in NATO. For me, it also means that NATO should have a new Arctic dimension, because NATO is then stronger in the Arctic area when both Finland and Sweden are members.
Finland's new head of state will start a 6-year term in March in a markedly different geopolitical and security situations in Europe.
One of the big things that many expect for the new president is what kind of role Finland will take within NATO. And that will be a key issue. The president represents the country most likely in NATO meetings.
The likely second round of voting between the two candidates with the most votes is set for February 11. Agency report, Republic TV.
The protesters outside a full arena bullfights resumed in Mexico City on Sunday after the country's highest court temporarily revoked a local ruling that sided with animal rights defender and suspended the events for more than a year and a half. Here's more.
Despite protesters gathering outside a packed arena, bullfighting recommenced in Mexico City. This comes after the country's highest court temporarily revoked a local ruling that sided with animal rights defenders and suspended the events for more than a year and a half.
Yo soy muy partidaria de los derechos de los animales. Esto, la verdad, es que es demasiado sádico. Estamos en contra de la tortura, de la matanza, de que sea un entretenimiento y que se aplauda, que se protejan. No puede seguir siendo esto en el pleno siglo en el que estamos.
Bullfighting is still allowed in much of Mexico. In the capital, the legal fight for its future is full of twists and turns.
Yo vi cómo mi padre criaba los toros desde que nacían y les daba una excelente vida. Hasta la fecha en la ganadería se siguen criando los toros y realmente pues el niño no aprende cosas malas, porque él va al campo, monta a caballo, ve cómo torean y pues esto en sí es un arte.
Outside, hours before the formal beginning, about 300 people gathered in front of Plaza Mexico to protest against the bullfights. The National Association of Fighting Bull Breeders in Mexico estimates that bullfighting is responsible for 80,000 direct jobs and 146,000 indirect jobs. Agency report, Republic TV.